Our next speaker, we are on to the next speaker. Our next speaker is someone who knows the power of the free market and the American dream firsthand. Before running for Congress, she owned and operated a small business. She took her private sector experience and conservative principles with her to the Tennessee State Senate in 1998, where she quickly became known for a strong commitment to fiscal discipline. As a state senator, she led grassroots conservatives across the state to stop a state income tax. In 2002, Marsha Blackburn took these guiding principles to Congress, where she quickly earned a reputation as a fighter for small, more efficient government that is accountable to the people. She is regularly praised by good government groups like the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the Farm Bureau, and the Chamber of Commerce. Congressman Blackburn is a fighter for lower taxes and is one of the most consistent and vocal opponents of Obamacare, joining with the American people time and time again in efforts to repeal and replace that ill-conceived law. Marsha Blackburn is also a leading pro-life and family values advocate. Congressman Blackburn currently serves as the vice chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, as well as 4 critical subcommittees. And she serves on the House Budget Committee and is a founding member of the Republican Women's Policy Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Congressman Marsha Blackburn from the great state of Tennessee.
And I will do it for you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you go. And long after you're gone.
Are you having fun? Oh, you love this summit? You know what? I think this is absolutely fantastic. How many of you have chosen a presidential candidate? You're listening. I like this. You know what? We can all agree on this. Come 2016, we have to win the White House. And that's a goal that everybody shares. And you know, I think that it's important that you're here. I'm an old county party chairman. This is part of your equipping. Getting ready for the fight. 2016 is going to be a fight. We know the media is not going to be with us. They've never been with us in one of our great conservative victories. Think about 1980, 1984. Go in and look at 94, 2000, or even 2010. But you know the good thing that's happening right now? The American people really aren't believing the mainstream press. Don't we like that? There was a survey recently. 70% of all adults said they don't believe what they're hearing on the evening news, but look at the choices that you got. You know? So it really shouldn't surprise us. I finally made up some nicknames, if you will, you know, for all these networks. And if you won't tell anybody, I'll share my secret with you. And every time you hear them, then you can think, oh yeah, there they go again. All right, ABC, I call them the All About Clinton News Network. NBC, now I'm a Southern girl, so there you go. NBC is the Nuttin' but Clinton News Network. CNN is the Clinton News Network, and God help CBS. They are the Clinton BS Network. There you go. So you know what I'm thinking. The good thing is, though, that same survey asked people, who do you get your news from? And who do you believe? And you know who they believe? They believe you. They believe their friends and their neighbors. And that's who they're counting on for the news of the day. So, you, my friends, are now the most powerful network in news. So how do you like that title? And with that title comes some responsibility. But look at this. It's an opportunity for us. We as conservatives have a shot at getting in here and redefining some issues and educating people, engaging them, and reframing the debate. And there's some reframing we can do. When they start beating up on us and saying, oh, you need to stop fighting and stop opposing all your opponents out here, we can say, no, we're fighting for people. When it comes to dealing with Common Core, which ought to be placed with common sense, then what we can do is say we are fighting for kids. When we talk about ending the Department of Education, we are fighting for local control, and we are fighting for parental rights. Yeah. When we in Congress talk about ending Obamacare, we are fighting for people that have been abused by this system, or maybe people that liked their doctor but really couldn't keep him. And when it comes to fighting the EPA, I'm always going to be fighting for freedom of choice in light bulbs and ceiling fans. And we're also fighting for property rights for farmers who don't want the EPA regulating spilled milk and mud puddles, and for factories that want to keep their doors open for jobs. And when we oppose the FCC, what are we fighting for? We're fighting against a government-controlled internet and for a free and open internet. And I've got to tell you, you get out there talking like that, I think the American people are going to join us on these issues, and it's going to make a difference in 2016. You know, I found it so interesting this week. Did any of you see the survey, National Security is the top issue? As we're looking at the 2016 elections, quite frankly, I think that all security is probably that top issue. When I put my head on the pillow at night, and I bet you're pretty much like me in this, the thing that worries me the most is that this nation is going to cease to be what it has been. And that troubles me. It bothers me. Because I want my children and grandchildren to know what this country is all about. And I want them to know, and I think we all long for those days where we can say, we know that we're safe in our homes and in our communities, and that our kids are safe at school or at the park, and we can go to a sporting event or go to the mall, and we're going to be okay. And I think we also want the assurances that we've got that security, that we can speak our mind and not be bothered. It's called free speech. That if we feel like we need to own a gun, we can own a gun. We want to know that we can own our property, that we've got the right to privacy, and we don't want the NSA listening in on our phone calls and reading our emails. We want to know that we are going to be safe and secure. It's kind of a security issue year. But you know what? That list of things that I ticked off, they're not new ideas. They're not 21st century new ideas. They are found in the Bill of Rights. And it is up to us as conservatives to talk about these and to share those ideas. I call them 80% issues with the American public. And I think it's very sad that right now, 85% of all adults fear that their children are going to be worse off than they are, that they're not going to know that American dream, and a big part of that dream is assurances. You know, as we talk about security, I want to talk about a couple of issues with you in that security component. There are things that we in Congress are working on. I got to tell you, your South Carolina delegation, you got some great guys from South Carolina who are serving in Congress. I want to read you something real fast. Listen to this. When we talk about retirement security,
Neither Medicare nor Social Security can sustain projected long-run program costs in full under currently scheduled financing, and legislative changes are necessary to avoid disruptive consequences for beneficiaries and for taxpayers. If lawmakers take action sooner rather than later, more options and more time will be available to phase in changes so that the public has adequate time to prepare. Well, I gotta tell you, that sounds sort of like one of those emails that you get that says, send money now, save Medicare. Guess where that's from? The 2014 summary of the Medicare and Social Security trustees reports. That's where you find that. 2016, disability insurance goes broke. 2030, Medicare broke. 2033, Social Security broke. It is time for us to put the focus on retirement security and make certain that the promise the federal government made to you is a promise that is going to be kept to you in your retirement years. And by the way, when we repeal Obamacare, that $700 billion that Obama took from Medicare to stand up Social Security, give the money back. It's time to put it back. And let's be sure that that Social Security Trust Fund, tell Congress, stop spending it and putting it in the general fund every year. Put it away for seniors so that it is there for retirement. When we look at job security, I think one thing this government hasn't figured out, the best economic stimulus there is a job. Ask 93.2 million Americans who are out of work. And I've got a formula. I say if we would put this formula to work, we'd get the country to work. It is less litigation plus less taxation plus less regulation equals more innovation and job creation. It works every time. You can take it to the bank. A strong economy is going to depend on having free people and free markets and getting regulators out. How many of you know of companies or individuals that have been hit by federal regulators? I want you to raise your hands. You know, the IRS, the EPA, all those folks, it's time to rein them in. Let me tell you a quick story. How many music fans do I have in the group? Country music fans? You know, in Nashville, we love to play that country music on Gibson guitars. It is a great company. Well, people all over the world love Gibson guitars. We all know that. Except maybe the federal government, who sent armed federal marshals through the front doors of Gibson. They broke in, they raided the place like they were selling drugs. And they did this because of the wood. They did not like the wood Gibson was using. So they kept Gibson tied up for a couple of years, and then finally they gave the wood back. They gave it back. So our friends at Gibson have a sense of humor. They're now building a group of guitars called the Government Series. And the back of every one of those guitars has an eagle on it. The talons are wrapped around the neck of that guitar. It is time for the federal government to get their talons off the necks of the American people. Let me say a little bit about our nation's debt, because that's another part of the economy. $18.3 trillion worth of debt that we have right now. The big problem with that is who owns our national debt. Top holder is Japan, 19.86% at $1.2244 trillion. Next in line, China. They have 19.85% of our publicly traded debt. $1.2237 trillion. And then you've got Caribbean banks in Belgium. Then number 5 on the list, with about 5% of our debt, $300 billion, is OPEC, the cartel. We are trading our children's future, capping it and trading it to the people that hold our debt, and it is time for us to get this out of control spending under control. There are 3 simple steps that we can take. Cut the spending, pass a balanced budget amendment, and then require federal agencies to do what you do. Not start where they were last year. Go back to $1. It's called zero-based budgeting. Hold them accountable for the work that they're doing. When I was a little girl, I loved to get in the pickup truck with my daddy. And we'd head into town, go to work. We'd pass this old used car lot over on the side of the highway. And they had a sign out in front. It said, "We tote the note." I would say, "Daddy, tell me about this. What does tote the note mean?" And he would explain what it meant when you didn't have the money and that you were heavy into borrowing. And he'd say, "Now, baby, don't you ever let anybody tote your note." Well, the United States of America's got some heavy note-toting going on, and we've got to get this under control. You do it by spending less and balancing the budget. Let's talk a little bit about national security, and you've heard everybody, Governor Perry and Dave and Governor Walker, talking about the national security issues. I see it as a three-pronged front. And in Congress, some of us conservatives are trying to tackle this. Number first, honor our men and women in uniform. Honor them. They are on the front lines, and this silliness and short-sightedness about trying to cut military spending and reduce the size of the military, we need to be bulking it up, because we are a nation at war, and our enemy, we are fighting radical Islamist terrorists. And after they took credit for that attack last Saturday, we need to realize it is imperative that we admit we are a nation at war, and we need to fund the U.S. military. They've got a job to do. The second thing is border security. We have to make certain that the border is going to be secure. This is ridiculous. You can't end illegal immigration, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, labor trafficking, weapons trafficking, unless you secure the border. And now Hillary Clinton has come out and said she's going to go further on immigration than Obama did. I tell you what, they've been lawless for 20 years. It looks like she's going to try to be lawless again, but we're going to stop her. And when we are fighting to secure the border, we're fighting for the sovereignty of this nation. And when it comes to foreign policy, that is something we don't have right now. Our allies are wondering where we've been. Israel is an ally. We need to support them. And then we need to look at what is happening with Russia, with China, with cyber warfare, because we're being attacked millions of times every day. You know, Johnny Cash has a great song. Line in it is, "Still is strong because it knew the hammer and white heat." That's like America. We always rise to the challenge. We always rise to the challenge. We're always there to fight. We've done it before, and we will do it again. My grandmother used to say, if it doesn't kill you, it's going to make you stronger. And she's pretty much right. America will come back. You know, Dave mentioned when I was in the state Senate. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I know we're going to be on the road to coming back. When I was there, the people of the state rallied with me, and it was not a 4-day or 4-week or 4-month battle. It was a 4-year battle. But we defeated that state income tax. And this year, it took us over a decade, but Tennessee will forever be income tax free because the people of the state passed an amendment to our state constitution that says you can never enact a state income tax on the great people of the great state of Tennessee. That is what you call a conservative victory. I want to just share with you one of my favorite quotes from a founder, one of our nation's founders. And I have to tell you, I think this quote from Dr. Joseph Warren, as he got the Patriots ready to head to Bunker Hill, is so profound and so right today. because it centers on you, your network. Listen to this. Our country is in danger, but not to be despaired of. On you depend the fortunes of America. You are to decide the important questions upon which rest the happiness and liberty of millions yet unborn. Act worthy of yourselves. All right, that's our charge for 2016. You get your network together. Are you with me? All right. Are you going to get out there? Happy warrior freedom fighters? Let's go to it. We've got a nation to save and elections to win. Thank you so much.
And I will do it for you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you're gone. And long after you're gone.